Rupert Bell, talkTV's royal correspondent, joins me now. Hi, Rupert.
Good evening, Patrick.
No toe sucking in your family this Christmas?
No, everything above board.
Everything above the knee,
well.
at least.
Indeed. And John Bryan was the aforementioned individual who was
that's
involved.
Right. Yeah, it was her financial advisor, wasn't it?
I think it was, and they were photographed, I think, somewhere like in Saint-Tropez at the time. And caused quite a stir, as you can imagine, 30-odd years ago when it happened. But last year, Fergie was actually in Norfolk. She stayed at Wood Farm. We just never saw her publicly last year. But so what's happened is it's gone an extra step. And with the fact that I think the King is bringing all aspects of his family together, except for a couple in California. And it seems like everybody else, you've got Camilla's, the Queen's grandchildren and her children from her first marriage there as well. You had, obviously, the extended family of the Kings, your Princess Royal with her grandchildren. So it was a full-on, it was a big table they needed, that's for sure. They were all sitting around having lunch on Sunday. But Fergie was seen, and more importantly, the Duke of York was seen, because I think the King realises that Fergie is actually a positive influence on Andrew while he has to negotiate some pretty uncomfortable times over, well, just recently and indeed in the coming weeks. And I think there has always been a sense of loyalty towards Fergie, because she's never spilt the beans. She's never gone running off to the make a million from her memoirs, although she's done a lot and occasionally says a few things, but nothing has she overtly cashed in by telling her story, although, of course, she has been able to use her position to do things, which I suppose, fair play.
But who doesn't? You've got a lot of MPs that are doing that as well. So do you think this is payback for her loyalty, particularly to Andrew? Because, as you say, he's been through the mill. There's likely more to come with the Epstein list being published on January the 1st. See who else he knows that he was friends with, perhaps at the time. But she's steadfastly, it seems, stuck by him. She's moved in with him. She's helped him.
Yeah, and when you look at the situation, Prince Philip wasn't totally enamoured of her.
No.
But the Queen always did have a real soft spot for her, just as people used to say that Andrew was perceived as her favourite son. But actually, I think the Queen realised that she was a positive influence, even post the marriage. And that's why she did move in and brought up the children. And they've obviously recently had children and embarking on as young parents, Beatrice and Eugenie. But Sarah has always offered a degree of loyalty to Andrew. She stood by him through thick and thin. Admittedly, okay, they got divorced, but in recent times, she's very loyal to him and actually is acting as I suppose, give him something around, because it's a pretty lonely existence he's got now, because the only time we see him is at these sort of private public functions, of which Christmas Day church service is one of them.
Because he's lost his HRH, hasn't he?
He has, and basically he lost all his patronages and everything to go with following the scandal. And he is, he's still in his early 60s, so he would have been expected to be very much part of the working royal family if he hadn't got himself in such a pickle, and obviously being disgraced. And in the eyes of the British public at the moment, he's got no way of rehabilitating himself. But it's probably some comfort to him that he's got Fergie around and that they can sort of get on with life. And she's had her troubles this year, obviously recovering from cancer, so it hasn't been easy for her. But it is, I suppose, she would have enjoyed being back in the fold in some capacity, although you could see the way it was stage managed, they were the extras off at the back.
Yeah.
Because you can see that.
I absolutely noticed that. I did notice that. She also reportedly, and some people are being fairly unkind about Fergie, as you'd expect perhaps, but in saying that she has been perhaps not sucking toes, but sucking up to Queen Camilla in order to find her way back into the fold, because she's always regretted that she's been elbowed out, because I think because of her girls and the rest of the family, but she's been cozying up to Queen Camilla.